Hello, hello. How we doing? I hope you guys can hear me. Yes, you can. Excellent. Froggy with the first. How we doing? Selena, how we doing, my love? Daddy ready to carry? Daddy's not carrying. Daddy is not carrying at all. Don't know what you're talking about. Hi Tiger, how you doing? Doing great, drinking for my birthday. Hell yeah. Oh, that's right. It's today or tomorrow? Tonight start spinning, playing my song just the way I don't belong. Today, everybody say happy birthday, Tiger. Happy birthday to you, my love. I hope you're having a wonderful day. I hope you're having a wonderful day. Sorry I'm so late. Yeah. I've got no excuse. Super late. Couldn't figure out what I wanted to play. Yeah. So here we are. We're going to play Overwatch. We're going to play Overwatch with Froggy, and it's going to be amazing. Thank you, my loves. No worries at all, lovely. Imagine being late. I know, right? Me? Late? Never. Never. I'm always on time to stream, guys. Always on time. Guys, I didn't even eat my second glizzy. That's how weird I was feeling earlier. Just... No sweet are words unspoken. Alright, let me go live on TikTok. All I want is a place to call my own. Gonna crash out. Alright, let's see how many times I can get smacked by TikTok. 2 glizzies? I know. I didn't even eat the second one though. I only ate 1. Whoa! Alright, hang on. If you run for yourself. Alright. Bow, bow, bow. I just invited you to a voice chat, Froggy. Ooh. Hello. Amazing. Can you hear me? Yeah. Yes, I can. Yeah. Let me just make sure stream can hear you because I can't right now.
I don't need to.
You must be unwell. I know, right? Alright. Where are ya?
You invite me.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. Sorry. Already onto it.
Already all over it. All over it. Alright. Let's see how we go. I haven't played in a while. This is gonna be interesting.
Neither.
At least because I exclusively play tank because it's only 5v5 now. I get to just play as D.Va. Like,
is there no 6v6 anymore?
There's still 6v6, but I just do quick play. Do we want to do 6v6?
What's the difference?
It's only so quick play 5v5, so it's only 5v5. So there's only 1 tank. 6v6 was OG.
Go for it.
Yeah. Cool. Where are we? Let's do deathmatch while we wait.
Like,
no. We can yell at each other.
you mean you yell at me?
Yeah. I'm just gonna make sure. Yes. Okay. Good. TikTok can hear me.
Time to save the world. Game on.
Time to save the world.
집중해야 돼.
Oh, nice. Oh.
Vote for a map.
I actually don't mind, to be honest.
For sure, I was the only one that voted.
Yeah.
Now entering King's Row.
You ready to listen to me get yelled at for being shit?
Other way around, you mean?
I'm gonna get yelled at. Our teammates are gonna be like, why are you so shit? I'm like, I don't know. I'm just a
Toby
baby.
can jump over Big Ben. No problem.
And that's me yelling at you.
We know why we're here. Let's get to it.
All right, let's focus up.
Nice. Woo. Let's go.
If we do this right, they won't even know what happened.
Set up here.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Attackers incoming. Defend objective A.
I'm ready for anything.
What? That was great. Love that. Nah. Ah. Oh, he's so low. It's fine. It's fine. We're good. We're good.
I'm not
We've
giving
had a
up.
DC.
Huh?
We've had a DC.
Of course we have.
Thank you.
Oh! Rude. I'm being picked on right now.
Dead. Bloody sweats on the other team.
I know. Jesus. Oops. Hold it.
They're taking our payload? No shot. What we deploying rock, you
Oh, I was 1 HP.
Jesus. Finally! Got him! Jesus. Ah!
Enemy
Sweet! I got this! Nerf this!
Nice.
Enjoy that kill count!
Keep a lookout. Ready to rumble? Come to me for heals.
Now they're just feeding!
Deploying rocket.
Shit. Shit, 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 shit. Thank you. Ah.
Let me keep
Ah.
hunting them down.
I got a kill streak there, so that was okay. I'll take it.
Justice reigns from above.
Round number.
Oh, he's so low.
Shit. Oh, there's two flanks in a row.
Fuck.
Round number.
Shit. There it is. I was trying so hard to just hide.
I felt the map.
Watch me being the kill cam. Oh, that's you! No.
Rip.
You made it! Hey, nice. Oh. Who's gonna get it? Who's gonna get it? Nah. You won in my heart. Nessie, how we doing, Pookie Boo? Hope you're doing good. Doing good. How are you? I'm doing alright. I'm doing alright. It's running very late, and just like I don't know. I didn't want to cancel stream, but I've just been feeling a little off this evening. But it's okay. We're here and we're playing Overwatch, and I'm excited as one can be, I guess. Playing this dang game. No, it's good. How was work? Real? Yeah. I was tossing up between like Overwatch and like DBD, and I was like, how much do I hate myself tonight? Oh, I think I'm gonna work with poo. No, not poo. That sucks. I'm sorry that it was poo.
Welcome to Malibu.
Time to save the world.
You slept at 2 a.m. Oh my god, Nessie. You goose. I was grumpy. Yeah, I bet. I bet. I hear someone. I hear multiple people.
Nothing gets past me.
Ah, rude.
Look behind you, Vicky.
Yeah, I need to have an early-ish night. Oh, okay. I need to have an early-ish night tonight. Yeah. I also have a new. Actually, I should probably get my. Gigi, what are you doing? Cheeky girl. Copy that.
Time to save the world. Game on.
Let's finish this quickly.
Over here. And stick together. Let me take the hits.
Whee! Stinky wizard. Rip.
Oh, Moons, you are purple. Are you feeling unwell?
I am now.
Do not panic. I will call a medic. Oh, but I am a medic. I will call another medic.
What is going on?
I'm here for it.
One.
Oh, they've got a diva too. Hi, queen. Whee! Thank you. Nah. Damn. Damn.
I'm not giving up.
Whee! Uh-oh. Oh, I got someone. Got the other David coming back.
Oh, I'm not dead. What the hell? I get red. trap.
Damn.
Oh, I
Damn.
Oh,
That was the worst ult I could have done then. Hi Raz, how you doing? How you doing? I thought I hit my shift bar to like send it into them, but I didn't. I just like set it off and I was like, fuck!
I got kidnapped by a fucking flying cat.
Oh no. Whoa, what the fuck? Hap! Hap. How you doing, Raz? How you doing? Thank you for the likes, by the way, team. I appreciate it.
I gotta lock in.
We're outnumbered.
Are we ready? Are we ready? Oh, well, they're coming to us anyway, so.
Oh, bro, I'm just gonna.
I'm doing alright. I'm doing alright. I am playing Overwatch very badly, but that's okay. We're having fun. Oh, did it bring me? Let's go.
Oh, there's no way. Oh.
Ah.
Bro, what?
Ow. Oh. Where did everybody go?
Died. GG in the hills.
At your service.
Rip.
And I died 8 times.
Ooh. I died 5. I only got 2 elims. I did mitigate 7.
I see one with junk rat.
Yeah. Froggy again? 8 final blows again? God damn.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
To be fair, that Mercy was
Okay,
pretty
so,
good
yeah.
actually.
Hey?
Our Mercy was pretty great actually.
Yeah.
Didn't leave me by myself, which was nice. I've got a pimple coming up on my forehead. It feels like a doozy.
Get a pimple back on that ASAP.
Yeah.
Time to save the world? Game on!
Oh, fuck me.
Reloading.
Fucking turn your wall hacks off, hey?
Lol hacks. As if you were behind a wall.
I was. Did it just... Why did it boot us from that then? What?
I don't know.
That was weird. Oh, hello, Lammy. How you doing? That was weird. Was that me? Did I rage smack my
Rage quit.
rage quit without even realizing? Where are you? Just really hoping I can push you off the edge. Fucking hell! I'm naked! No!
집중해야 돼.
Well, how you doing, Lammy? Lammy! 55
One
months.
Lammy boy just subscribed for 55 months.
That's so
Oh,
many
would you look at
months. Hell yeah. What animal would you like for your post-it note, my love? Thank you so much for the resub. I appreciate it. I can hear you. Where are you?
Can you?
Little bitch. Yeah.
I'm not moving, but I can hear someone moving.
Someone's running around.
Yeah.
Grubby, no worries. There's gonna be some ads in a second, my loves. Oh, there is many people running around right now. Oh god. Oh, I got someone. Yay. Ugh. Ah! That was rude. I was fighting someone else.
I avenged you. Oh!
집중해야 돼.
Let's go. Whee! Also, I think I set up vertical streaming on Twitch today too. I really hope. I think I did.
Right.
Yeah. Don't know if it's working. Probably should check that, but. Nope.
Just about
Nice.
to kill someone.
No. Yeah, that's pretty cute.
It's like Mykonos.
I need a Greek holiday.
Yes.
I just want to be somewhere warm right now.
Literally.
It's just
And
been
relax.
Yeah, it's been so cold. I had a really cute like outfit idea for my in-office day today, and then I realized it was going to be like a max of like 14 degrees, and I was like, well, that does not work anymore.
Game on.
When the chips are down, I'll have your back.
Chippies.
Chips ain't alright right now.
Wish I remembered Shifu's battle advice about now. Shouldn't have slept through his classes.
Thanks for sitting through those ads, my loves. I appreciate it.
5, 4,
I always forget to select perks in this.
Oh yeah, the like the minor perks and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, bring it on.
Oh, they've got a Reinhardt. He is my mortal enemy.
Okay.
Oh! He threw me off the edge! And we stay mortal enemies.
I'm not giving up.
Zenyatta on the mount.
Enemy
Oh, he's blind, bro. Oh, piss off on that.
Ah!
This one.
Yes!
Nice.
Ah!
Oh my god, fucking power, bro. Oh,
Oh,
hello.
behind?
There's someone in our back line.
Rude. Oh, poo. I just got my fucking mech back. Damn it.
Deploying rock unit.
Whee!
I'm with you.
Oh, I'm stunned.
Oh my god.
No, I actually got like half the team that was doing
Got him.
before.
Sorry.
I took out like half the team.
Oh yeah. Sweat.
20 enough apparently.
I've got you in my sights.
Oh my god. Ah.
Outnumbered.
Wah.
Careful.
Score 0-1.
Oofed.
Your life's more important than a mission, okay? Stay safe out there.
That's nice.
Do not fear, for growth is always painful.
Okay.
We got this. I believe.
4,
Yeah.
3, 2, 1.
Walking real quick.
Capture the objective.
Don't be down. We still got this. Let's shake things up.
Neutralizing projectile. Enemy turret ahead.
Yep.
Ah!
Support, you know. Nah, there's no way she just fucking disappears like that. The fucking alright.
Captured. You're dead.
No longer exists.
How do I go?
The enemy approaches.
Initiated defense matrix. No.
God, why not can fuck my fucking shit.
Ah! God damn it. I'm gonna make a voodoo doll of Reinhardt and just stab, 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 stab.
I'm sorry, but how does he just one tap me?
Literally.
Let the Kitsune guide you.
Got him.
I'm on fire!
I've got you in my sights.
Am I going too far forward? Like, I don't understand. I'm not
Oh, yeah,
getting
it's not
healed.
pushing out. Yeah, literally saying.
Deploying.
Oh my god, I can't even ult. There's no heals.
No.
Before he was blocking next round, trying to switch roles.
Say again, sorry.
And let me switch roles before next round.
Oh yeah, cool.
I'll be support.
Cool.
Play of the game.
Bro had 1800 heals. I've got it.
You made it onto the big screen, Pookie! Yeah, let's go.
Hey.
Hell yeah.
Let's go.
Nice. Did you check on support or?
Yeah, I've selected support and damage.
Right, cool. Welcome back, Lamb, my boy. How was your Thursday? I'm treating you.
Now traveling to Petra.
Time to save the world? Game on!
Oh my god. Oh, I thought he flew off. Oh, he got me. That's rude.
Rip.
You know, it's exactly 10 weeks! Fuck off, Lammy. It is not. Are you kidding?
I haven't even booked my flights or my accommodation yet.
Froggy!
I know.
Oh, ow. I just tried to pierce my nose again with my ring.
Ouch.
Ow. This is why I always wear it the other way. Everyone's like, you should wear it so that, you know, the moth's facing, like, the sword's facing down. I'm like, no, because that happens! Ow! I don't know the maps well enough to decide which one's better.
I'm just picking the cool looking one.
Yeah.
Oh, damn
Traveling to Mali.
Just thrace it. No, we don't.
Oh.
Alright, we're gonna win this. I can feel it in
Is that
quarters.
is that the mercy from the last?
Maybe.
I
Oh, the name.
from
Yeah, it
the
is.
yeah. Fuck yeah, they were good.
Time to save the world?
If
No,
I
that was- sorry.
You might have gotten away from me once, but I won't quit until you're both behind bars.
fly in first in New Zealand, to flight to Melbourne, then dropping bags, grab my pass. Hell yeah! How exciting! Yeah, we
So, don't take it personally.
we always
when
get
I
in
the most
on the
kills,
Thursday.
eh?
Okay, we go in on the Thursday and then have that kind of night, and then that way we're not like rushing Friday morning.
Company.
Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. Attackers incoming. Defend objective A.
Kick up a dust storm.
Oh, they have a Reinhardt.
That's the same one, I'm pretty sure. Oh my lord.
Rip. That was my bad. I didn't come back. Whee! Yes! Let's go! Ooh, someone just flew over me. Ah.
Shit.
Ah, shit. Ooh, nice. Somebody heal me. Victory tells me that's because they're selling a fast book internet of the report. And so the flights in her book they are. Yes. Yes, it is getting very close. Oh my god. I'm trapped!
I'm about to die.
Good. Boom! Ah, one person's not too bad. Got him.
Nice. Get wrecked.
Ah,
Got him.
nice.
Oh, to the right.
Hunting them down. Nothing gets past me. Deploying target.
Ah! Let me up!
Yeah, I am.
Shit! Holy crap. Fuck, I'm dead. There it is. I'm on 9 elims though. That is not bad.
Yeah.
Damage mitigated could be better, but I also need to not compare myself to a fucking Reinhardt when it comes to mitigating damage. Like, there's only so much I can do.
Oh shit. Disappointed having a tower.
Ah!
No, I'm dead.
Ah!
Hunting them down.
Oh my god, I thought I almost fell off the edge then. I backed up a bit too much.
No! I'm dead, I'm dead, I'm dead. Oh, you. He's one, yes. Nice.
Yes.
4 minutes.
Oh. Ah. Wah. Oh, damn. I feel like we did alright. That match was alright.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
Better than the last game.
Yeah.
It was the same right out as last game, by the way. And now, I don't know who that is. Is that Mercy, the orange chick?
Yeah.
She was our support game before he only had 17 reveals.
Yeah, nice, yeah. Oh, 10 this time around. God damn. Fucking sweat.
Gotta raise that bar.
Oh, yeah. Can we get sweats in chat for Froggy, please?
Thanks for the shout out.
Thanks for the shout out. Wee sweats. I'm not a sweat. Lammy, I just want to make that very clear.
You're doing pretty good solo tanking.
Doing alright. Doing alright.
Doing alright, love.
Doing a bit alright. I keep thinking today's Friday, but it's not. It is Thursday.
Correct.
Yay.
Time to save the world.
Still a day of work, but that's okay. It's from home, so I can't complain.
I wasn't ignoring you, I was blowing my nose.
That's fine.
Oh.
Hello?
Wait, what?
What the fuck?
I see what you're doing.
I don't know what I'm doing!
Like, oh,
I almost had you!
Oh, please, I was alive.
Oh, please. Oh. I don't know what I'm hitting.
Time to save the world.
Maybe it's one of my, my buttons on my new mouse, maybe. At least that's not happening in match. That would be really awkward.
아직 전투 중이라고.
Select
Okay.
your hero.
I was like, I swear I didn't touch anything that time.
Now entering King's Row.
Wait, no, I'm sport, okay. You got me to support this game, Wolfie.
Time to save the world. Game on.
Whee!
No, I just remember how to play Moira.
Out in no time.
Be my
Stick
pocket
together.
support.
Let me take the hit.
Wait, are you playing fucking Moira?
Yeah. Why?
It's my other arch nemesis.
Yeah, but like I'm decent on her.
Yeah, okay. That's alright then. And you're on my team, so it's fine.
Yeah. Is it Zenyatta? Is that the robot killer dude?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
I've played him before as well, and I'm not too bad at him, but he's more of a DPS than support.
Nice, yeah.
Over there.
Defend objective.
Leave a follow! Oh, Winston! Well, their name being Clam Chowder. That's amazing. Ah! Damn. Boop, boop.
I'm gonna heal you, bro.
Didn't heal me. I'm dead.
I was trying!
Eyes on a target. Let us end this.
Whee! Oh no, don't put me to sleep, that's rude. Ah! Being bullied. Being bullied.
Hunting them down.
Thanks for the likes, my loves.
Speeding up. Clear those nukes off the payload.
I got a post-mortem, so I'll take it.
Fine.
Engaging thrusters.
Enemies engaging.
Sweet, an upgrade.
Sweet, an upgrade.
Enemy.
Oh, there's...
Ew. Ah. Who's hacked me? It's rude. Oh my god.
Hunting them down.
I'm not giving up.
En top ahead.
Beep beep.
Clear those nukes off the payload.
Oh my god.
Yeah, we're just stuck here.
It's like every 2 seconds I'm getting hacked or put to sleep and I just...
Hunting them down.
Thank Christ. Let's go. Let's reverse this bad boy. Beep, beep. Ah. Oh my god! Asleep again!
Play of the game.
He's Pompiro!
No one can stop me.
It's both of us! Let's go! Look, Mom, I made it! That's me!
Let's go.
Ooh, ooh.
Epic.
Bam.
Rip.
Big rip.
MVP.
It's nice to be appreciated.
Traveling to Dorado.
Time to save the world? Game on! Nothing gets past me!
Oh,
I'm out!
that wasn't me, I promise.
I was so
So was I.
Prepare to attack. Select your hero.
Give her a go.
Time to save the world? Game on! Someday, I'm gonna finally travel the world. Got any tips?
Travel light. But you never know when you need more socks. And underwear. And shirts. Oh, and pants.
You gotta pack enough undies in case you shoot yourself. Every day, obviously.
Much lies in store. Let us see to it. Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. Attack commencing.
Ah. Wah.
Shit. Up here.
Yay. It's okay, everybody. I'm not naked anymore. Thank you.
Each other now. Something for the sting.
Something for the sting. Ah.
How I survived there.
Ah, shit! Damn it.
They're counting on me.
For the parched.
Nice.
Oh my god.
Shit! Damn. Hi, I'm going well, Gertrude. How are you going? How are you going? Just playing some Overwatch on this fine Thursday. I'm not playing very well, but we're getting there. We're having fun.
I died as soon as I pressed play.
Hello, T. How are you, my love? Ah. Have you been playing Overwatch 4? I used to play Overwatch, like OG Overwatch, quite a bit back in the day. And then I stopped playing. I didn't touch Overwatch like 2 until this year. I've only got about, I think it's like 15 hours or something in the new Overwatch. What it is now, I guess. So I feel pretty brand new. Nice. You doing okay? Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Last night.
Ah. Oh. No. I was being bullied from Bob. Bob was bullying me.
I'm not giving up.
Join me.
30 seconds remaining.
Time to let's hustle.
Whee!
Oh, that's not.
Don't know what I was thinking with that, but that's okay. It's fine. It's fine. just wasn't thinking.
Defeat.
I got one final.
Play of the game.
Yeah, he fucking got me so many times. Ooh.
Epic.
So they get no.
Thanks for the love.
David Diff.
Damn. How rude.
Okay. Remind me not to kill his, is it Shion? Shion? Wait, am I in your game?
Oh,
No,
what the
I'm not.
hell? Get back here. I think I hit leave group instead of leave game. Oopies. Oh. Alright.
Welcome to Blizzard.
I reckon I got one more in me and then I need to go to
Time to
bed.
save the world? Game on!
Eeh.
Pirate disengaging!
Oh, hold on.
Ah!
Reset and regroup!
Oh my god.
Ooh, there's other people. There's other people.
Aww. Rude. Disgusting.
Yeah, I got killed anyway.
Oh. Wow.
There's no way I killed you.
That's fucked.
It was behind him.
Fucking homophobic. That's what that was. Pussy! No. Oh my god. Can I hit a shot, please?
Speeding up! Pirate disengaging!
Where'd our friends go? Our friends ran away. Thank you for the likes, my loves.
I was gonna say, where'd you go?
Disappeared. I'm still glad you came, so let me see this hand. Stick it to me. Stick it to me right
This
Did you just throw your suit up.
Yes, I did. And I gotcha. I'm on the board, guys.
Choose your map.
I don't think I have any ice creams left.
Rip.
That is a big rip. Man.
Welcome, Blizzard. Welcome.
We played with Shigo before. And Jan drops too, I think.
Were they
Nice. Yeah. Oh, I do! Is my husband the best?
good? Oh,
Thank you for the likes, my lovelies.
Time to save the world? Game on!
Game on!
I'm in charge.
Okay.
Don't forget that.
No, you can be in charge. That's fine.
I'm reckon we're gonna tan their hides, partner.
I beg your pardon.
You look like you are from the westerns my father brought to Mars. Let's draw, gunslinger.
Oh, you got a lot to learn, cowgirl.
Greetings.
Hello.
Alright, we're gonna win this. No pressure.
okay.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Attack commence.
Thank you for the follow! Welcome on in. Ah! This is going well. Ooh! Ow. Yay! My camera's bugging out? Oh, really? Thanks for letting me know. That's really annoying. I was having some issues with it before, actually. Is it bugging out on Switch as well, or is it only bugging out on Steam?
Initiating defense matrix.
Get in there, Bob.
Let's go. It's my first kill streak in a few games, so that's a nice feeling. Nice, let's go.
Check out this new tech.
Oh, it is too. That's weird.
Ready to establish orbital ray connection.
Objective A captured. Escort the payload.
Yeah, sorry, Tiki Talk. I don't know what's going on with my camera. Oh, let's go. Let's go.
Got him.
Nice.
Oh, come on.
Our healers are gods amongst men this game.
Literally.
Ah.
Work. I didn't even have to use my ult.
Fuck yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
That was a 15, 18 kill streak. Fuck yeah. Nice. It's me! And you!
Oh, yeah.
Oh no! I vote for you. Me?
Let's go.
What? Hell yeah. What a last game.
I know, good way to end.
Yeah. Fuck yeah. Alright. Thanks for hanging with me.
Thanks for the games, Bookie.
It's alright. We'll play again soon.
Bye bye.
Bye. Alright. Tiki Talk, thank you guys so much for hanging out. I'm sorry my fucking camera's doing weird shit. I don't know what's happening. I will be live again next week, but keep an eye out on my socials and stuff. I also have a new YouTube video up, so you should go watch that. Thanks. Peace out, Tiki Talk. Twitchy Poo, my loves. W Games, my love. W to you too, my love. I don't know what the fuck was going on with my TikTok camera then. I don't know. It was weird. It was wigging out. Oh, GG. Baby girl's been in the background. She was watching. Bless. What a little cutie. What a little cutie. Alright. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. You guys are amazing. I don't think I'm gonna raid out tonight, I'm not gonna lie. Thank you guys very much for hanging out. Sorry I was late. Sorry short. You guys are amazing. Go check out my new YouTube video if you haven't already. I'm gonna go get sleep and I'm gonna have ice cream in a bit. Well, I'm gonna have ice cream and then I'm gonna sleep. Stay safe, eat snackies, and I will see you guys next week. Less than 3.